Head the Art Spin and Strength Training Studio. Our spin studio is truly one of a kind in this area, complete with 20 state-of-the-art live fitness bikes and an incredible sound system. Our strength training is done in small groups of 6 or fewer, and all of our strength and spin classes are scalable for every level of experience. Come see us in the heart of Clarksville, just behind MAPCO at the corner of Old Trenton Road and Wilma Rudolph Boulevard. Call us for more info at 931-542-6265 or download our Trifecta Fitness app for a full list of upcoming classes.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Did you serve in the military? If so, you can obtain a free lifetime pass to more than 2,000 federal recreation sites. These sites are located across more than 400 million acres of public lands, including national parks, wildlife refuges, and forests. The lands host activities to fit any lifestyle: hiking, biking, fishing, camping, and much more. Gold Star families are also eligible for these free lifetime passes. Plus, they cover entrance fees for a driver and all passengers in a car, or up to 3 additional adults at sites that charge per person. Obtaining one is easy. Just go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, or the National Park Service app.
In October 2019, Arlington, Texas was chosen to be the home of a new national museum, unlike any other. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a unique home of military history. The 100,000 square foot museum will house exhibits, archives, and artifacts relating to the 3,500 U.S. troops who have been awarded the medal, the nation's highest honor for valor in combat. The museum will have 31,000 square feet of galleries dedicated to U.S. troops who have received the award. The museum CEO, former Navy SEAL and NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy, said the museum will focus on education as much as preservation. The building will have 5 areas dedicated to Medal of Honor winners from the Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The main gallery will be located in a central plaza under a 25,000 square foot slab of steel, which will appear to be suspended in midair. It will be supported by 5 pillars. Black Rifle Coffee is a corporate sponsor of the museum, as are the Dallas Cowboys. The museum's board also includes over a dozen major corporations and 6 Medal of Honor recipients, including David Bellavia, Patrick Brady, and Britt Slabinski. Army Staff Sergeant Bellavia was awarded the medal for clearing an entire house by himself on November 10, 2004, as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. He killed 4 enemy fighters and wounded a 5th in close quarters battle. Army Major General Brady flew and coordinated the evacuation of 51 seriously wounded men during a firefight in Vietnam in January 1968. Slabinski, a Navy SEAL chief and team leader, led a rescue team of SEALs during Operation Anaconda in Afghanistan in March 2002. Slabinski and his team flew to a mountaintop ambush site to rescue Petty Officer First Class Neil Roberts, who had fallen from the back of a helicopter. Slabinski led the team through almost constant combat against an entrenched Taliban force. Along with the board members, former presidents Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama serve as honorary directors. The museum is expected to open to the public in late 2024.
All right. Welcome back. MisFitNation. We are a show founded by a veteran and hosted by 2 veterans and a military spouse. Our mission is to get people to tell their story to the world. If you're an author, share your tips with the Misfit Nation. If you're a musician or actor, our audience needs to know how they too can get into the business. Coaches, we love our coaches. Come on and share some of your tips with the Misfit Nation to help them become better versions of themselves. If you're a corporate leader or an entrepreneur, come on and share how you did it and how hard you have fought for success. If you're a veteran, first responder, or Gold Star family, we would love to have you come on and just share your story with the Misfit Nation. We always have time for you. If you're feeling down, alone, or starting to see the darkness, stop. Think about those who are around you. You are not alone. You will be missed. If you feel like your problems will be a burden to those in your inner circle or are embarrassed, dial 988. If you are a veteran, take option 1. We need you to keep pushing forward. Don't make a permanent solution to a temporary problem. If you're a new listener, welcome to the Misfit Nation. Be sure to subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast apps and also on our YouTube channel at @_Misfit Nation. Subscribe and click the bell to keep you up to date with our latest episodes and all of our news. You can also find us on Heroes Media Group and About Face Radio. Now, let's get to the show. All right. Welcome back. We're finally off the road. We're back in Tennessee. We're at our home base and our new studio set up, and we have a good one tonight, y'all. Our next guest is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran and co-founder of Burn Pit Barbecue, where he shares grilling and barbecue recipes and tips. He served combat deployments in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. As a Marine, he led and took part in combat and humanitarian missions. He was honorably discharged at the rank of sergeant in 2006. He received his Bachelor of Science from the University of Wisconsin-Parkside and his Master of Business Administration from Alverno College. He spent 10 years working in the insurance and finance sector as a leader and coach. He is a certified Echo and Neuro Leadership Brain-Based coach. In 2020, he left the comforts of the corporate world and launched Burn Pit Barbecue with Ben Kreppel, where he shares the grilling and barbecue tips, recipes, and seasonings he learned in the backyards to help beginners cook delicious meals. So without further ado, let's welcome Greg Fischer, U.S. Marine Corps veteran and founder of Burn Pit Barbecue, to the Misfit Nation. Welcome, Greg.
Hey, what's going on, Rich? Thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, it's great. I love when I'm able to connect with fellow veterans and get to hear their stories and basically share what they're doing with the whole world, with as much of the world as we can touch from here at the Misfit Nation. Now, Greg, as I told you in the green room that I'll give you a little blurb about you, a one-inch sector of your life right there. now I put the onus on you to share more about who Greg is and his story from where he came from, why he joined the Corps, and how we got to where we are now.
Yeah. So that was a pretty brief summary for about 2 decades worth of things that I've done.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, again, I appreciate the opportunity, Rich. We talked a little bit behind the scenes about our military time and how we overlapped just a little bit in Iraq. But, my journey in the Marine Corps started back in 2001, actually, after September 11th. I was a senior in high school and, I'd been looking at the military, and that kind of solidified it in my mind for me that I was going to go down that route. So a few months later, I signed the papers to join the Marine Corps. I graduated high school in 2002, June, and then I left for Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego shortly after that. So that's kind of where my story starts in the Marine Corps.
Outstanding. That's a call to service right there. A lot of people don't understand that when they joined after 9/11, they were going. Everyone that joined after that period was joining knowing they were going to war. So you knew when you raised that hand in the MEP station, and then again when you got to your first your basic training there, that you were no doubtedly going into harm's way, and you did it anyway. So that's applause to you right there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I know a lot of others did the same thing at that time. But yeah, I'd been talking with recruiters up before that point. And on September 11th, I called my Marine recruiter and I said, hey, what does this mean? What's going to happen? And he basically said, hey, we're going to war. And sure enough, a few days later, we were in Afghanistan. And then, after that, then, Iraq. So my entire time in the Marine Corps from 2002 to 2006, was heavily involved in the Middle East and Iraq as part of 1st Battalion, 7th Marines, which is an infantry division out of 29 Palms, California. So I spent, multiple deployments and all of my time really basically training for urban combat in the Middle East.
And that's a little different from where you grew up in the States. So I'm playing football, hanging out in high school, and I know I want to be a Marine, but what am I going to do? And all of a sudden I'm in maybe Fallujah or Ramadi or Helmand province in Afghanistan, where Marines are likely to go. And now you're in urban combat or within the fields there in Afghanistan fighting for your life with your brothers next to you. So that's a big change for you.
Yeah, especially, I was 17 when I joined and 18, going through boot camp and training. I think my first deployment to Iraq, I just turned 19. So yeah, a Midwestern kid, growing up in kind of the middle-class suburbs of Wisconsin. Shortly after graduating high school, I found myself in the middle of the Iraq desert, fighting in a war. So you could say it's a huge kind of shock to the system.
Especially, I mean, where you are now, if that's where you grew up, and if you grew up in Wisconsin and go to Afghanistan and Iraq, it's a little different weather. I mean, 100 degrees in Iraq. You actually have at least 2 seasons in Wisconsin. So
yeah,
not so cold. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot different. Obviously, the desert versus here we have 4 seasons. Where the weather changes quite a bit. Over there, changes slightly, but it goes from really hot to sometimes cold. So yeah, I mean, being a young teenager, early 20s during my time, it was definitely a huge learning curve. Learning not only becoming a Marine, but then also learning the culture of some other country halfway around the world. You grow up pretty fast.
You kind of forced to at that point.
Yeah.
And you did your 4 years, and you had three combat deployments in 4 years. And that's also something a lot of people outside of our element or don't understand how quickly you can go right back.
Yeah,
that's counting boot camp too. So.
Yeah. So I mean, really, it was kind of a 3.5-year period where I was either in the Middle East or training to go back to the Middle East. And it just happened to be the timing of when I got in, and then also when I was getting out. So my first couple deployments, I was there for the war. So from Kuwait up to Baghdad, and then we spent a number of months then in country because, as we know now, there wasn't really a good exit strategy. And then my unit was very good at combat in urban environments and that kind of situation. So we came back to the States for half a year, 9 months, and then we were ready to go back over again. So that was just my experience in the Marine Corps was just back-to-back deployments and then workups for deployments. So after 4 years, you can imagine, I said that that's I pressed my luck enough. It's time to go back home and do some other things.
Definitely. I'm sure you were able to gain leadership knowledge while you were in the Corps that you didn't really know you had before you went in. And that kind of helped you when you started off in your college career as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're almost forced, being in that situation, to step up as a leader in some capacity, whether you're an individual contributor, but you have a job and a role to do, or my unit was made up of very young Marines. So, 19, 20, 21-year-olds were squad leaders, team leaders, section leaders. So you have opportunities to prove yourself. And then, when you're forced in those situations, especially in combat, you have to step up, not only for yourself, but for the people next to you. So, yeah, I mean, not just myself, but just about anybody that's ever joined the military comes out with a lot of leadership traits and characteristics that they can then, use in the rest of, whatever they're going to do with the rest of their life.
Oh, definitely. And I'm sure you stood out. I mean, you were definitely an older guy going to college at that time. 4 years after, basically 4.5 years after you graduate high school, went through the boot camp, core time, and go back to school.
Mm-hmm.
Did you always want to do business, or was that just something that you thought, hey, this would be a good thing for me to do?
Yeah, so I knew going in that's what I wanted to do. I'd always had an affinity for like the business classes in high school, and that's kind of what I was drawn to. So when I got out, that's naturally what I went into. And you're exactly right, being almost 4 years older than my next peers. In the freshman classes, I had a little different perspective on the world, and I attacked my education a lot differently than maybe some other people that were in my classes. So that was good and bad. It allowed me to, again, continue to work on my leadership skills and maybe lead by example in that situation, but then also stay motivated and continue down the path that I knew I wanted to go on, which was eventually to graduate and then work in the corporate finance world.
You did 10 years in the corporate world after that, after you graduated. And did you see yourself in that, getting bored in that position? That's why you started the business, or you just had another light bulb go off, say, look, I want to do this, and this is where I'm going?
Yeah, I think like just about anybody that gets out of the service, especially when they've had a lot of stressful time, whether that's deployments, combat, they just want to put their head down and work. And I was kind of similar to that. Like I had done the risky thing, I'd gone to war, I survived 3 different deployments, and now I just wanted to maybe give my family a break too and do something that wasn't so risky. So I decided to go kind of down that path of insurance and finance. And I learned a lot. I grew a lot. But then as I continue to grow and kind of work my way around that organization and that industry, I found that I still was, even though I was risk averse at that time, I still had a little bit of risk in me. So I wanted to, push and find and develop other skills and grow maybe a little bit faster than the environment that I was in. So that ultimately led to the reason why I left, about 10 years later to launch the business that I'm in right now.
And being in the business we did, especially you being infantry, risk is something that you got used to, and it's kind of embedded in your head. And taking that leap to go from the safety of I don't know if you had an office or a cubicle or whatever you were in at that point, the safety of that every day, to saying, hey, now I'm the boss, and what my decisions actually affect me directly every day and my family at this time. I'm sure that was eye-opening for you.
Yeah. Like I said, like I spent 10 years kind of continuing to craft and hone my skills, leadership, business, and all that kind of stuff within the frames of a corporate environment, which I'm thankful and grateful for. But it was time to step out on my own. I guess you could say I do have these huge swings, right? I go from high school to combat to, a pretty steady thing. And then I go right back into something that's very, challenging and uncertain. So it's probably not good for my family that I continue to kind of go do these ups and downs. But yeah, so I just felt that urge again that I needed to go out and do something, improve myself again. So that's why I left and started the business, and we've been doing it for 3 years now, and we hope to continue to do it for a long time.
I told you before in the pre-show, I was looking at the video on your website. It shows you, I think, cutting brisket right there, and the ribs. And if I was allowed to eat that stuff still, it'd be great. It would still makes your mouth water.
Yeah.
I'm sure if anyone goes to burnpitbarbecue.com and they check out this website and see that video, they'll do the same thing I'm doing right now, just salivating as I'm looking at it. And it's a great put together show, video, and a great site as well. And I'm glad that I was able to have you come on as a fellow veteran. But when you started your business, you and your partner's also a veteran, right?
Yeah. So my business partner, Ben Kreppel, he's currently in the Navy Reserves. So yeah, he's still in. So he's living that life too. So yeah, no, we started this business 3 years ago. And we wanted to keep the military theme throughout. So, the burn pit BBQ is a reference, obviously, to burn pits overseas. Kind of tongue in cheek. We like to have a little bit of veteran humor with what we do. And then, all of our products have veteran names to them. So yeah, we continue to have that conversation, continue to give back in ways that, we can to the veteran community here locally in Wisconsin and throughout the nation. But yeah, so we want to keep that tradition and some of that stuff alive throughout the business that we're doing.
Burn pit is high on most veterans' lives right now with the PACT Act just passing. So this should flow in when people are doing searches, burn pits. This should come up first, and then PACT Act second. So this might help you out a little more at this point.
Well, yeah, it wasn't the reason. We just felt like it was like this tied to like this huge, thing that we had went through, being overseas, and kind of our generation might be defined by burn pits and that kind of stuff, but then also kind of a little bit of, hey, let's throw some humor in it. And and we get to have conversations too about it. So that's another reason why kind of the flip side of that is we get to talk to people that might not be familiar with what a burn pit is, and we get to educate them on that. So we bring awareness to some of the things as well. Another reason why we chose the name.
It's an awesome name. I love the name. And like I said, when I looked at the video on your site there, I was like, this is it. This is a good selling point.
I appreciate that.
No problem. Reading your bio, it said that you took the seasonings you learned in the backyard. So is this from family barbecues or maybe tailgating and stuff like that that you learned all these recipes that you made to create the seasonings and stuff that you sell?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, so me and Ben, we actually met in college. So we didn't know each other before that. And then we graduated and, we bought homes that were, a few homes away from each other. So, I'd be in his backyard, he'd be in my backyard. And really it was kind of a way for us to, learn about what we were doing. Obviously we were novices at that time, grilling and barbecuing, but then trying stuff, experimenting. And, the first seasonings we ever made, we would give away to people like for Christmas gifts and parties and stuff like that. So that's kind of where it all started. And then, when I said, "Hey, I'm thinking about quitting my job and, doing this full time. What do you think?" He's like, "Yeah, let's do it." So that's kind of how the whole business started.
That's awesome, and it's great that I was going to ask you how you two met, if you knew each other from before service, but obviously you met in college. Was he already in the Navy Reserves at that time, or did he join during that period?
No, he joined after that. So, yeah. So he felt the call to serve after that, and we met because we both played college soccer, and that's how we were both on the same team, and we kind of established like a friendship from there, and that just carried over into our personal lives, and then we both loved grilling and barbecuing, and that's kind of how we came together.
That's awesome. Happy accident. You met each other and were able to.
Yeah.
You served already, and maybe you influenced him a little bit to serve at that point, or he had in his head he was going to serve at that time.
Yeah.
But playing college soccer and going, did you both study the same classes together too?
Somewhat.
Okay.
So I believe he was kind of a marketing economics, and I was kind of more the business general type of, and then finance. So overlapping at some point, but different focuses.
I mean, it's outstanding that those happy accidents, those great meetings that you have in life, where you network by accident on purpose, and it's just a happy accident for you two to do this and create this awesome business, Burn Pit Barbecue. And you also have a neuro leadership, brain-based professional coach. Do you do that on the side, or did you do that prior to this and then stop now?
Both. So during my time in the corporate world, I was able to develop some of those skills of leadership and helping to develop other leaders. And I've carried that over to kind of like the side. So I do coach some high performers and things like that as I build my business. But that's I continue to hone those skills and work with people that are high performers that want to continue to get better. So I do have that I kind of do on the side. But the burn pit is my primary business here.
Outstanding. And what's your, I guess, your reach right now with Burn Pit Barbecue? Is it worldwide, or is it just has it been growing out of Wisconsin and throughout the states, or how are we doing?
Yeah, so that's part of our strategy. Is I took a lot of what I learned in the military and I applied it to the business. So during my 3 deployments, there was quite a number of changes in how we interacted with the locals and how we went about with our strategy in Iraq. We went from winning the hearts and minds to really embedding into the local towns. So instead of staying on the outskirts, we started embedding units within the towns, and that's kind of how we developed our strategy here at Burn Pit. Is that we wanted to dominate our home state of Wisconsin first. So for the past 3 years, we've really been focusing heavily here with retail and outreach here in Wisconsin. But from a national perspective, we do have a presence on Amazon. We do ship nationally. We do have followers from all across the country. I think we've shipped to just about every single state our products for people who have bought them on our website. And then from a retail perspective, we've just added partners in New York, North Carolina, and Missouri. So we are starting to spread slowly outside of the state, but our continued focus is still here in the state of Wisconsin. And then military bases, whether they're in the United States or overseas. We've shipped product to units that have been in Africa and Jordan on ships and sea. So we try to give back to those still serving as well as much as we can.
Well, that's awesome. And I think that'll actually help you more in the long run than you think right now, as those guys and girls get to season food that's probably pretty horrible wherever they are.
Yeah.
Not to say the American people need to know that the food's horrible, but it's pretty horrible. And unless you do have either your fancy dancy hot sauce or good seasoning to get in there and make it taste a little up, kick it up a little bit. It'll help them, and then when I'll come back and say, you know what helped me when I was over there? Burn pit barbecue. I think you need to try it, and that should hopefully help you out.
Yeah, I think the feedback that we've gotten a few times is it's like a taste of home, especially for those that have been that are overseas. Having some barbecue rubs and seasonings and some sauces really does feel like home when you've been away for a long time. So we're honored by that feedback, and we're continually touched by the folks that reach out to us that have received some of our packages, and just knowing the impact that that's having. It's a small thing, but it could be huge to somebody else.
Of course, Ray Grant Jr. posted on here, Marines know horrible food, and he's damn right.
Ray's a Marine down there in Texas, so he's a good supporter of the brand, so we love him.
Awesome. And as we were talking earlier, I got to serve alongside the Magnificent Bastards of 2-4 in Ramadi, and I know that the food they had was not good because it was the same food I was getting. So.
Well, usually the Army has a little bit better than the Marine Corps, so we were always a little bit jealous.
Not much better, believe me.
Okay, not during that time, huh?
It's about maybe an inch difference.
Okay.
The Navy and Air Force is where it starts escalating high.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that get, Air Force, especially lobster every Friday night, lobster and steak while we're out there eating dirt. So that's how life is. See, airfare, he just put, he said, Semper Fi. Mark Peterson just chimed in, Patriot Pride. Thank you, Mark. Any questions for Greg out there, just put them in the chat or call in. He's ready to answer any questions you have for him on Burn Pit Barbecue, on business, on finance, or, of course, his service to the United States Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. So, Greg, we've talked about little things here and there. Where do you see the business going in the next, say, 5 years, and then maybe 10 as your goals for the business?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So for us, we think about this quite a bit. We do have obviously more recipes and ideas of seasonings and rubs that we want to continue to build off of. But ultimately, we see the brand Burn Pit BBQ as being a kind of a go-to spot for somebody that might be barbecuing and grilling. So when we think about what are some of the things that you might need when you are doing that, aside from the grill or the smoker, which you probably already got, utensils, gloves, those types of things, thermometers. So we want to be a brand and not just a seasoning and rub company, but an overall barbecue brand. So 5-10 years down the road, we're going to continue to build out the lineup of offerings that we have regarding products, while continuing to add new flavors of seasonings and sauces. But that's ultimately a big picture. And then ultimately, we want to see our brand on the shelves in commissaries, on bases, and continue to build out our retail arm. And strategically, that's the next step for us is, when we build out, we want to build out in places that have a strong military and veteran presence, that have bases, or people that, go after they serve. So we're talking like a lot of places in Texas, California, the Carolinas, Florida. So those are some places that we have targeted that we want to continue to build out. But yeah, the commissary is working with, the government and getting our brand and our products in some of those places is where we'd love to see the brand within the next 5 to 10 years.
Awesome. Have you already approached the commissary or AFES or NEX to see if you guys, what process you have to take to get in there, or have you just not started that yet?
Yeah, we have. So we've gone down that path. There's quite a few boxes you have to check to be eligible. And then also after you get all that done, then you have to start developing the relationships. So it does take a little bit of time. We're working on that. But hopefully within the next few years, you'll start to see some of our stuff pop up on some of those places. We're actively in talks with like the canteens at local VA hospitals. So that's a little bit different avenue. But hopefully you'll start seeing our products in some of those places, and personal recommendations go a long way. So if you wanted to reach out to any of those places and say they should carry Burn Pit, we wouldn't stop you.
That's exactly right. Word of mouth helps the best, and they'll get those things in there. If you live close to where, I guess the Mafia headquarters of AFES is, get in there and speak up for Burn Pit. You get them in there and and that's usually what it takes. It's someone that knows somebody within the system.
Mm-hmm.
You get it going a little quicker than all the boxes having to be checked. So yeah, this is a highly recommended veteran business. Let's get them in there, and that'd be a great thing to see as you walk into wherever your favorite PX or NEX is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you see yourselves branching out into actually maybe cooking as well, or just staying with what you're doing now?
We do some private events at the moment, so we don't do full on catering. But if people ask us to, do a graduation party or do, let's say like a promotion party or something like that, picking up rank, we do some of those types of events. But full on catering, full on like pop ups or restaurants, that might be like a 20-year plan, not within the 5 to 10 years, I would say. But then again, I'll say we are definitely open to opportunities, and we will always kind of vet those out if those come our way. But that's not our primary focus right now.
I mean, it's always good to have those options open. I see you're already sharing recipes with people on your website there.
Yeah.
I think the first thing on there was shrimp skewers.
Yeah, we just released that one. So yeah, I mean, we were heavily focused kind of on gearing our products and then also like our recipes and tips to kind of those newer backyard barbecuers. But that doesn't mean like we don't have some pretty advanced techniques and recipes for those that might be, have some experience doing it. But yeah, we wanted to provide a place where somebody that might be new can come in and get some easy recipes and tips that they don't feel intimidated by. And then also we provide the flavor for you too. So it takes the guesswork out of grilling and barbecuing in the backyard.
Definitely does. And Greg, earlier you said you played soccer in college. So right now the Women's World Cup is going on. How do you think our women are doing?
Well, I don't like to critique professionals, but I will say I've watched just a little bit of the Women's World Cup, and I'll say that they don't look as in sync. I know they have a lot of new and younger players. So I think a lot of nerves still that they have to work out. But I expect them to go in, and I think they play Spain next or something like that. Portugal. Okay.
Tomorrow, Tuesday morning at 2:30, at 2:00 in the morning, my time, your time too.
Yeah, they play Portugal coming up. I do think they'll get a victory there, and hopefully they'll come out on top of the group. But I do expect them to kind of move on to the round of 16, and then at that point, it's pretty much anyone's game.
Definitely, I had the same feeling about the not in sync thing. It seems like it's two different teams playing.
Mm-hmm.
You have the old hats and then the young hats playing, and they're not playing together yet.
Right.
Now, hopefully, as they move forward in the tournament, hopefully they do move forward. It'll gel, and miracles will happen, and we'll make it out of there. So this has been a weird World Cup, so a lot of weird people winning. So it's pretty cool.
I will say that's the first ever commentary I've ever given on soccer, women's soccer. So take that for what it's worth.
You're welcome. Ray just asked, how about a lemon pepper rub for lobster and fish?
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. We do have a Fish and Wild Game one. Our Fish and Wild Game seasoning does have a hint of lemon to it already. So that's one we love to put on fish. But for like a lemon pepper, that would be something that we could definitely look at. We do have a lot of ideas that we are putting together, going back to the old experimentation. It's always fun too, because there's so many different combinations you can put together. That it's the options are endless because there's so many great ingredients out there.
He said, just a thought, Skipper.
Hey, no, it's fine. I get it, man.
And someone on Crabgrass Baby on Twitter said, I made some pretty competition level baby back ribs the other evening.
That's awesome.
That's the way it's supposed to be. Competition level in your backyard.
Yeah.
Full beer and friends. That's what it's all about this time of year, especially.
Yeah, and I will say, even though we say like the backyard, we do an amateur competition. This will be our third year doing it. It's September 3rd in Greendale, Wisconsin, where we get some amateur barbecuers, and we raise money for a local veteran nonprofit organization. So this year we're going to be raising money for Irreverent Warriors, which are the Silky Hike. They do the Silky Hikes and stuff. So the local Milwaukee chapter, we're going to be raising money for them. So we have, I think, 12 or 13 teams signed up. They're going to be cooking ribs and sausage, and we got a lot of giveaways, raffles, and we partner with local brewery here, so there's going to be a lot of special drink items and stuff. So we try and incorporate a lot of those things, bringing the community together, supporting veteran nonprofit organizations, and then just promoting, getting out and barbecuing and grilling as well.
Awesome. And like Reverend Warriors, I did a Selkie hike with them last year. Here in Clarksville was the first thing I did with them. This year they skipped Clarksville for some reason. Hopefully they come back next year. It was a fun time linking in with a bunch of veterans from all around. I didn't realize how cultish that group was. They travel everywhere. It's amazing how they travel. But it's cool to see them get together and find that purpose and camaraderie that we lose when we hang up the boots and suits the last time.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. I think you hit the nail on the head, like the camaraderie. I think that's where a lot of challenges come from with military veterans getting out of service. They lose, their best friends, their housing, their food, all on the kind of the same day. It can be tough, and just being around other people that have gone through that can help. Definitely.
Greg, this has been great chatting with you. As an entrepreneur, and a lot of our listeners are veterans that want to start businesses or on their own, what are 3 tips you would give them to maybe get their business going and get out of their own way?
Yeah, I think the first tip that I would give would be you have to have a vision for where you want to go. So if you haven't written down, what that business plan is or what that vision for that business is, write that down, and then start establishing goals to start hitting some of those targets. So start small and then start, one step at a time. So that'd be number 1. Number 2 would be, like, if you want to start a business, a lot of things that hold people back is the finance piece. So they don't have their own financial house in order. So start doing that, paying down debt, start, saving on a side rainy day fund for yourself personally, and then start saving for your business that you want to open up. And then third is that get around people that are currently doing what you want to do. So if you want to start a business, like for me in the barbecue space, start talking to people that own businesses that are in similar industries or similar to what you want to do. So you can learn from them, time, collapse, success. So those would be the 3 things: have a vision, get your financial house in order, and then start putting yourself around people that are in the position that you want to be in.
Awesome. Great tips right there. Listeners, make sure you listen to that, take heed to that advice and all the advice we get from our guests that have made it out of that first year, because most businesses that don't have those plans in order don't make it past that first year, sadly. And that's a statistic you can look up on the Small Business Association Administration's website there. You'll see most businesses fail within 1 year because of lack of planning or any of those things, finance and such like that. Greg, thanks for sharing it with us. And where can people find you and contact you, maybe have you on their show, or maybe just reach out to you to talk to you?
Yeah. So for the business Burn Pit BBQ, you can just go out to our website, burnpitbbq.com. And then you can find us on the socials too. So like Facebook is Burn Pit BBQ. Instagram is Burn Pit BBQ Guys. But personally, I'm very active on LinkedIn. You can go out there and connect with me, just Greg Fischer. And if you want to connect, have me on the podcast, or you just want to talk business, talk military, whatever, you can reach out to me there. I'm pretty active, and I log on there quite a bit, so I'll see your messages. But if you're interested in the business side of things, you can always reach out just on the socials or on the contact page on our website. So those will come to me as well.
Awesome. And this has been a great chat with you. And anytime you want to come on in the future, talk about either where you are at that point, or if you've done something awesome, bigger than what we're talking about right now, definitely reach out to us and we'll get you right back on here to get your vision back out there to more people.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the conversation. It's always great to connect with somebody that's been over in Iraq, and kudos to you for what you did over there in Fallujah and Ramadi in that area. So I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, brother, and have a good night.
Yeah, same.
For every veteran, there is a story about a calling to serve, to fight for the freedoms of the American people. And every story has a struggle, a sacrifice, and invisible wounds. Warrior Watts programs help veterans recover from PTSD and invisible wounds through exercise, nutrition, and connecting with other veteran leaders. It is estimated that 22 veterans die each day by suicide and another 30 veterans die each day by substance abuse. These are preventable deaths. Warrior Watt is committed to fighting PTSD through fitness, nutrition, and community. We've got the privilege and opportunity to support our heroes in their time of need. Will you join us and take action?
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com to catch up on all of our episodes and also to get some of that great Misfit Nation gear. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling because we are